All right, I'll call to order the East Fallowfield Township Board of Supervisors meeting, February 24th, 2026. We call to order, moment of silent meditation and the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. There was an executive session held before the meeting today on February 24th, 2026 to discuss legal matters. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the January 27th, 2026 Board of Supervisors meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
Any questions or comments from the board? Any questions or comments from the public? Call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye. Fire Department and Department of Emergency Services. There's a Westwood Fire Company Fire Chief's report submitted for review. Westwood Fire Company EMS report submitted for review. Medina Fire Company Chief's report submitted for review. Medina Fire Company Chief's report for East Fallowfield calls only submitted for review. Medina Fire Company EMS report submitted for review. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to recommend the appointment of Bill Lewis to the position of Emergency Management Coordinator for East Fallowfield Township.
Second.
See here.
Still here?
No, he's not.
Sorry.
Any questions or comments from the board? Real quick, Mike McWilliams. Have you worked with Bill in the past?
Yeah.
You're comfortable with this? Any questions or comments from the public?
Just want to point out, Mike, this is like one of the first steps in the process. So, we'll submit, the next step is to submit the paperwork to the county. Ultimately, the governor is the one that would make the official appointment. Just wanted to make that clear.
Thank you. Call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye. Do I have a motion? The treasurer's report.
I make a motion to approve the January 31st, 2025 Treasurer's Report as presented.
Is that a typo?
26. I'll say it again.
Yes, please.
I make a motion to approve the January 31st, 2026 Treasurer's Report as presented.
Second.
Any questions or comments from the board? Questions or comments from the public? Call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Hang on. I make a motion to approve the payment authorization for the period of January 28th, 2026 through February 24th, 2026 in the total amount of $454,384.51 as presented.
Second.
Any questions or comments from the board?
Hey, that's a little higher than usual.
Yeah, we had $120,000 for our quarterly fire EMS payments. There's a police vehicle in there for $45,000.
Okay, so the quarterly 120 was kind of unusual, and then the one-time purchase of the vehicle.
There's some one-time health or insurance payments that came out.
Yeah.
What was that total amount? 454,384.51.
You said 454?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Questions or comments from the public? Call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Scott or Dave, worker safety.
Yeah, so we were approved for the Workers' Comp Safety Committee by the state of Pennsylvania. Came out to our 5% savings on our workers' comp, which was $4,390.
That's good.
And some savings for the township.
Congrats.
One of the efforts we do here to save money, the township, so.
So the question, this 5% discount, how long do we get that?
This year, but obviously the goal is to continue,
So each year we can do this?
as long as we can continue with our, safety committee.
Okay.
We would continue, we have to apply every year for this with the state, so we put in the application, we would continue to apply every year.
It sounds like a very, doesn't take a lot of effort, but pays a lot of dividends.
Yes, yes.
Great.
And it's Scott or Dave in the auditor report.
Yeah, just informational. We did have an audit on our pension by the state for the years 2020 through 2025. And we are still working through EMRS to make sure any adjustments we need to make that we want to get this done promptly. But no action at this time.
Anything else on treasurer?
No.
Scott, manager's report.
All right, hi, everyone. First, I just wanted to give a big shout out and thank you to our road crew, for their work this winter. It's been quite a winter. They've done a great job in some tough circumstances, so I think we want to acknowledge their efforts, publicly. And just let them know we appreciate their work here. Next on the list is the model holding tank ordinance and on-lot sewage management program ordinance. We have Dave Porter here, our sewer engineer from, Cumbie. Welcome, Dave.
Thank you. Good evening, board members. Again, my name is Dave Porter from the Combie Engineers. I'm also here with Joe Boldez and Kristen Boldez from Terra Tracker. They've developed a software application to help assist with implementation of the Act 537 plan septic management program. As you recall, the Act 537 plan was approved in April of 2025. As part of that plan, the DEP requires that municipalities implement a septic management program, which ensures the continuing operation and maintenance and extends the longevity of on-lot systems in accordance with PA Code Chapter 71.71. So as part of that plan that was submitted to the DEP for review, there was a draft model ordinance for holding tanks and a draft ordinance for a septic management program included in the Act 537 plan update. The planning commission took a look at that draft ordinance and made several comments. Namely, including some things to, shuffle the order of some of the provisions of the ordinance around, clarifying some of the language as far as, the municipality. And then also limiting the scope of the septic management program to lessen the burden to the residents of the township, which I understand that was the board's and the planning commission's goal through the 537 plan process. So keeping that in mind, administrative burden was the largest item that we were dealing with as far as cost and staff responsibility. So the septic management program, there's minimal requirement that DEP is looking for the township to require operation and maintenance of their on-lot sewage disposal systems. Basically ensuring that their septic tanks are pumped at least once every 3 years, to monitor those tanks when they are pumped to ensure that the solids and the liquid level don't exceed the maximum permitted or recommended under the DEP's guidance. That the township adopts a holding tank ordinance. So when an on-lot system fails, if there's no proximity or very far proximity to public sewer, that the township has the ability to ensure that at least a holding tank can be implemented as a sort of a last resort for those residents. So we've considered all the planning commission's recommendations and made some edits to that model ordinance. What we're asking for the board to do is to authorize advertisement of both the holding tank ordinance and the septic management program ordinance upon Mr. Karate's review and making any edits to his satisfaction. Once the model ordinance is advertised, you'll get any public comments. You'll have basically a hearing that when it comes time to adopt it, the board can
make any changes that they desire prior to adopting that ordinance. With that, I understand that cost is a concern. So as part of implementing the septic management program, Chapter 71 PA code and allows municipalities to implement a fee to help offset the administrative burden and the cost of implementing that program. So what's involved with that program would be to send initial notice out to the residents, obviously, to educate them on what the program is, what the benefit of the program is. And basically for record keeping purposes, you need to keep a log of any reports that are received from the residents, licensed pumper and hauler, as to the condition of their on-lot system. For the most part, we're looking to ensure that those systems get pumped out periodically in accordance with DEP regulations. We want to ensure that things like separation from wells and surface drainage and other things don't get overlooked by property owners as they continue to improve and develop their properties. So there's basically a checklist that would be filled out by the licensed pumper and hauler when they go and do the system pump out to ensure that, the septic tank's in good condition, the lid's not caving in, the baffles in the septic tank are functioning properly. There's no evidence of sewage overflow. And then that checklist gets basically uploaded to a database. It's geo-referenced. So when the pumper and hauler goes to that property, they basically open this application called TerraTracker and they fill out all of the information for that particular property. It gets uploaded to the database. The township has record of that. And, the folks from TerraTracker can answer any of the board's questions related to that and can also inform the board on, what the cost would be to implement that program. So with that, I'm happy to entertain any questions from the board. And, if you'd like to hear a little bit of a summary of TerraTracker, I'll introduce Joe and Kristen. I can do that for you.
Dave,
Yes, sir.
I'm not a planning commission, so I know other people have. The model ordinance itself, it's pretty boilerplate for this coming kind of via the DEP. But there are certain tweaks which you had mentioned.
Correct.
And we could make certain adjustments to the language or the requirements. But there's only a certain amount of wiggle room.
Correct.
And that's where you can give your professional opinion on how the ordinance should be.
Correct. So understanding that the township, the planning commission and the board in the past, the feedback that I received was that the township doesn't want to be intrusive or burdensome to property owners in the township. Namely, there's different levels of a septic management program that the DEP would like to see. So at the base version of it, it does not require an initial inspection of the on-lot system. We had talked about maybe having a licensed or a person that's proficient under the Pennsylvania Septic Management Association, PSMA, do an initial inspection, fill out a questionnaire or a checklist, or inspection report to document the condition of the on-lot system. And then with that could be rolled into an annual report. That's more of what the DEP calls an enhanced septic management program. So the base septic management program would not include the initial inspection, would not include that intensive inspection of an on-lot system. It would include kind of an obvious look at the system to see if there's any malfunction or evidence of the malfunction of the system. Report of how much gallons is pumped, what the condition of their septic tank is, and things of that nature. So
I know some of the details have already passed through the planning commission.
That's correct.
I'm looking at Deb as
No, you're fine.
my rep of the planning commission, but,
yes,
and then it's passed muster review as
Correct.
official.
that's correct. Yes. And in fact, the edits that I referenced from the planning commission were the references to those initial inspections of the on-lot system. So those were recommended by the planning commission to be removed from the ordinance, which in this edit, I've done that.
I don't want to be reductive, but I think you said there's kind of like, I'll call it 3 levels.
Mhm.
That are, there's kind of 3 versions of this ordinance that the DEP likes to see.
Right.
Which tier are we at?
So we're basically a base model,
We're at
right?
Right, getting the job done, basically.
Yes, we're meeting the requirements of the septic management
Okay.
program and nothing
Okay,
more.
that's where we're starting.
Yes. Yep. So if the DEP sometime in the future find out that there are evidence of failing all lot systems, even though we're implementing a septic management program, they may require an enhanced version of that, which will then entail us to go out and evaluate all lot systems in more detail.
And once it's in place, this reporting, obviously, it's important for us to know locally and with the health department or with the owner of the septic system. But I guess eventually we have to submit reports to DEP.
For this, we're not
Okay.
obligated to submit a report. For an enhanced version of the SMP, you would be required to submit an hour.
Even with a known failure?
Even with a known fail, if a system,
Visual inspection of the pump.
yeah, if a system fails, what we would need to do is notify the property owner and then obviously the health department, since they have jurisdiction over the local municipality for permitting.
So it will still go, that's the only thing I really want to make sure I understood is it still bounces in that scenario back to county.
Correct, yes. Yep.
So I have a question. You said there
Yes.
was some kind of system to report. How would that interface with our,
Township staff.
yes, how would they receive, like, do we have software that interfaces with that? How would they know, to flag it and how's that gonna work? And who's gonna monitor all that?
Yep, so it would be no different than any other application you would download to your smartphone, right? So you would, any user of an application could input that data, and then whoever's the administrator of that account, Terra Tracker, they would give permissions to the municipal staff, would have access to all of the data under that umbrella. And I don't want to speak out of turn. I'll let Kristen and Joe answer those questions because it's their application, but that's the way I understand
Yeah, so,
it. Go ahead.
so the way that Terra Tracker works is essentially, and I think this is one thing that we talked about briefly, that you would have to add into your ordinance, the pumper hauler is actually responsible to do the inspection or observation. So it looks like you're currently concerned with the baffles, maybe the land flow, stormwater on top of your system. But those key items we would work out, we would come up with an inspection report that would be filled out by a pumper hauler. And the pumper hauler would be, obviously, they have to be licensed by DEP, and then they also have to be licensed by Chester County Health Department if they're working in Chester County. So we would notify them, and then they would have to get registered with us, with Terra Tracker. They would, when they're on site, they would utilize the Terra Tracker app, which can be used by your cell phone, it can be used by an iPad. And if, in certain circumstances, if they need to, maybe some pumpers don't have access to that, they can print out a blank copy, take it with them, bring it back to the office and have an admin enter it if they need to. That has been done. But essentially we would create the inspection report based on what the township wants to have observed or inspected. And then all those reports get uploaded into the cloud. They're there, they're accessible to, the pumper would have access to all of the homes that they have pumped. And we can give access to the township, whoever you would want to have access to go in. If they wanted access, if you wanted to give your engineer access, he could go in and see all the reports. You could see everybody who's pumped in real time.
So
This is
you
uploaded.
putting all the haulers at, the pumpers, or how does that work?
So we would reach out to all of the pumper haulers that are registered with or licensed with the Chester County Health Department. And we would notify them that if they're working in East Fallowfield, they need to be registered with Terra Tracker and they're gonna have to utilize our system. Which is why the ordinance has to say that the pumper hauler is responsible for uploading that report in the system.
So if they weren't approved, then the owner would have to get a different hauler at their own.
Well, you mean approved by the
Like
township?
you said,
The county.
Well, okay, so first of all, the pumpers, any pumper that operates in the state has to be licensed by DEP. And to operate in Chester County, they have to be licensed by the health department. So we would only be dealing with people who are licensed with the Chester County Health Department.
How many, you may not know the data, because anybody who's gonna be doing it here is already gonna be licensed. Those ways anyhow. But how many, do you have any data on how many are currently using Terra Tracker in the county?
In the county, we currently don't have anybody using. We're currently, yeah, we have Berks County.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
we
this
have-
would be new to this county.
It would be.
And any pumper that would be.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but it would be as simple as that pumper just reaching out or contacting Terra Tracker and providing them with their contact information.
Exactly.
And there's no charge to
If
the
it-
pumper.
if it
There's
administrative,
no charge to the pumper. No, there's no charge to the pumper. We help them through that process, super easy. Assuming they have all their documents, whatever you guys, it's really what the township requires.
Mhm.
If there's anything additional, aside from maybe their license numbers, right?
Mhm.
How many vehicles they might have operating, kind of whatever you decide. But we would, give them access to Terra Tracker and they would use our system when they go out and pump.
Krista, maybe you wanna go into what service your firm offers in the overall process?
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
the township has a checklist, we may have a list of people. Where's the value add when your company comes in to assist us with the oversight?
do you mean why use Terra Tracker versus?
Yeah, I guess the basic, well, yeah,
Why use Terra Tracker and not have somebody at the township do it? Is
or yes, yeah,
that
how
what
does
you're
that,
saying?
yeah, how do you fit into the whole process?
Oh, well, we take the administrative burden off of the township.
Okay,
Because currently, if you were to implement a standard, like in my township. I'm in West Brandywine, and currently, they have to prepare the forms, they print out the forms, they mail them out to everybody, and then the forms. The homeowner has to call up the pumper, have them come out, hand it to them, so they have to be there, they have to hand them the form and say, here's our form, can you fill it out? Take it back from the pumper, and then they have to take it, drop it off the township, then somebody at the township has to enter all that into the system, so there's a lot of admin. And then going back and trying to get that information, I mean. You have a good spreadsheet will help you for sure, but, you know, we also can have notifications put in. If the homeowner gives an email address to the pumper, when they go out on site and they submit the inspection report. Based on your time frame, I think it's a 3-year time frame. So 2.5 years, we can have an email notification sent to the homeowner saying, hey, you're due for pumping again. Also, if you guys you reach out to us and say, well, you know, can you prepare a list of who has not pumped in the last year? We can give you that.
Okay.
So it just takes the administrative burden
Yeah.
off of
Yeah.
the township.
I'm hearing streamline, I'm also hopefully making the burden on the homeowner as straightforward as possible.
Right, because also, like I said, if they give an email to the pumper, they get a copy. As soon as that inspection report is submitted, a PDF copy of the inspection report can get emailed to the homeowner. So they have that for their own sake. They have it for the records. We can also send it to the township. We could, if you wanted it to go to the county health department, we could do that.
for the board's benefit, that form would have to happen 1,600 times. Right? So there's 1,600 properties that have all lot sewage disposal systems in the township. So that's why when we were looking at implementing this without having a program or an application like Terra Tracker, we were looking at phasing the program into 3 areas of the township and doing 1/3 of those each year. So you're still looking at 500 to 600 on-lot systems for administrative staff to have to process annually. With Terra Tracker, we could roll it out one time and have it done on an annual basis. The folks that have already previously pumped within, you know, the last, 3 years prior to the ordinance being adopted would essentially be told, forward. They wouldn't have to do it until, that 3rd year, you become due. So all that could be entered into the application and those notifications could automatically be generated in that app.
And Scott, again, who monitors on our side all this?
Nobody currently. Nobody. This is
Who's
new.
gonna do it?
Cause it's a,
Nobody.
because right now it's a new requirement of the new 537 plan, so what they're proposing is that Terra Tractor would prepare.
I understand you're getting the report, but then who's gonna monitor all these reports?
Township.
We have a plan for that?
That
Well,
goes-
that's what we're working through right now.
on your own. That goes to Dave's office when they prepare the reports after the DVP, and then it goes to the health department.
Right, and like Kristen mentioned, Terra Tracker would have that in an inventory, so all the folks that were obligated to report on that calendar year, the folks that had the notices sent out to them, there'd be a tabulation, say 500 people got the notice this year. And, 450 of them reported, 50 of them needed follow-up, so we would have access to that report, we would communicate with the town staff, or Terra Tracker could, through their system, send additional notices out. At the township level, we would have to decide, okay, if somebody ignores that second notice, whatever the in-house policy would be, at what point does it go to enforcement action? Then we have to kind of raise it up the flagpole to, Scott's level or to the code enforcement officer level to enforce that folks aren't following through with their applications.
Right, you'll have to come up with the non-compliance scenario, how do you handle that?
Yeah.
Um,
I'm not on a septic, but if I were, I would call a hauler, I'd have to pay them whatever they charge. Do whatever paperwork is necessary to get to the township and track. Is there any other cost to the residents with this new ordinance?
There would be a nominal fee to effectuate or to cover the administrative.
Just
or
kind of, because they're more-
To pay for the Terra Tracker program, to pay for any administrative staff, any of that stuff, any reporting costs. Looking at 1,600 folks, and, you can speak to what the annual cost for Terra Tracker would be. I've seen anywhere from, $20-25 to $50 for every pump.
The question is,
For
for property
a
owners,
fee, yeah, for a property owner.
for an annual.
how do you get paid? You could come in from the hauler and the hauler passes it through?
No, the township would hire us.
Okay.
So the township would hire us to work with you.
At what price?
Doesn't cost anything to the pumpers.
What price?
So the annual license fee for a Terra Tracker is $2,000 a year, but that's just the application. So initially, the first year is always gonna be greater because there's setup involved, doing the notification to the pumpers, getting them signed up. If there's anything additional, we have other a la carte things that if you want us to do it versus the township, we can add that on. But generally, I would say for a very basic plan, just getting the pumpers signed up and the utilization of the software, the first year is like anywhere from 15 to 20,000. And then after that, maybe 5 to 8. Now, that's basic, right? So basically, once it's set up, you're looking at like 5 to 8,000 a year.
And that's not the price of the software, that's just,
That includes the software.
that includes the software.
Yeah. But once again, that's minimal. So depending on what the township wants from us, that's not reporting. If you want us to come, print out a report once a year, or if you want monthly reports, it's all in what you want. We can prepare a proposal and give you exactly, we can show you what each would cost, but the for a basic plan, just to have us run the Terra Tracker application, you're talking about 15 to 20 the first year, and then about 5 to 8 thereafter.
But to be clear, the relationship between the pumper and the resident, that's just, that the resident pays the pumper.
Correct.
We just tell them who the approved list is, so they know that there's who to call. And the township doesn't get involved, in that. We just tell them, you need to do this, here is the checklist. And,
Right.
oh, by the way, we have this spiffy software that will help things be more efficient.
Right.
And, because, we have I hate the term, we have a skeleton crew, we have a very basic lean team
Right.
behind those doors. So anything that can
That's additional
address the
time.
administrative costs,
Right.
understanding, we see the cost of your service and understanding the value of it, to me, is it's what those other state people could be doing rather than just chasing people for their septic permit.
Right.
Which is, yeah.
And keep in mind the translation, data entry. If
Yes.
there's a lot of times we've heard that there's whoever's entering that information as they're going through the reports, they're not able to read what the, inspector's writing. So, here, they're filling out a form and it's all the same question. They're answering it.
It can be a real time sink and admin to deal with just
Right.
what you just talked about, Chris.
And I can tell you that the pumpers that are using it in Berks are, they do speak very favorably about it. And we have talked to some in the Chester County area and like, excited for it to come, but it's just, it's
Yeah,
not-
and kind of just to speak to the approved list of pumpers, it essentially could be any pumper that's licensed
Yeah, we're not.
in the county, right?
Yeah,
We're not
gatekeeping.
dictating
We're not
the,
gatekeeping. Yeah, people are.
right.
No.
They can use
People are
whatever they
just
want to
going,
use.
so
Right.
we're not gonna get in the way of what people are, who they're comfortable with for their hauler.
Right.
Or their pumper.
I would find it
Yeah.
highly unusual to find a pumper that wouldn't be able to put
Yep.
something on their smartphone. It might be 1%.
Right. Right. And like I said, if they're really adamant, they can print out a form ahead of time. We do have one pumper out in Berks that does that. They print out the form. It's an older person and that's what he does. He brings it in and he hands it to admin and they enter and, it's a non-issue.
I noticed, I think I saw an email from East Bradford, but like this. It already starts with like, you get everyone ramped up, but then there's it's year 3, and then somebody's gotta send all the reminders out.
It
I
can
mean,
download
everybody's, we hope people are just, you gotta remind them, you gotta then follow up.
Yeah.
And then we have to execute what has to happen, and then we have to document it clearly enough. So that basically then the decisions can be made at the township level, like, oh, there are some failing septic systems in the system. Is there something bigger here that we need to address?
Correct. Yeah, you can use this for planning. We can, and this is also, if the township wanted this further down the road, we can export a file for you, like a CSV file. We can do it, or you could have your GIS, import it, so you could see all the failing systems on a map. It would help you with planning.
Mr. Porter, I remember a year or two ago when you presented the draft 537 plan, which is now adopted, and it showed potential future
Correct. There was
public system.
no
Everybody's like-
malfunctions.
I mean, everybody gets very
malfunctions,
interested,
yeah.
start talking about
Right.
who's gonna send
Mhm.
this data that we're collecting to satisfy DEP, but also to flag failing systems. Will that help us as a township make decisions on where to put our money first if we have to extend sewer?
Absolutely, yes.
It will take your initial, your desktop analysis, put some reality to it.
Correct.
And then when you come to us and say, oh, you need to run 3,000 feet down this neighborhood because, and here's the justification.
Right.
Mhm.
And it may also improve the condition of the system in certain areas that had.
Because maybe people are
Because now
a
they're,
little more TLC than.
exactly,
I was
yeah.
just gonna say
Correct.
that. I think just instituting the pumping alone is probably 80% of the battle, because there's a lot of people who move to a home and they don't know that they have to pump their system, believe it or not. They just don't know. And so if they're not getting pumped ever, just making sure that they're pumping in. And there's also an education part of it, which I guess DEP is not requiring, but, that's also a benefit, so the township could do it. We do, offer that if you wanted us to come and do public meetings, like one a year. But really just newsletter, actually, my son lives in the township now a year, and he said you have an excellent, Facebook page. You guys are really active socially, so that's
it.
that's huge. It really is. It's important. It's important to have your, keep everybody updated, but you can do that by Facebook. You can let everybody know about the program, remind them, hey, get them pumped. If you haven't yet, you can do all that, newsletter and just update
Similar to
it.
what the township does for MS4, for stormwater. The
Yeah.
outreach and education component of it, yeah, I mean, that's important.
Scott, is-
Sorry.
It sounds expensive for us. Do we have any grants or anything we can apply? That's
Any
a lot of
grants, Dave,
money
for
that
this?
you-
Actually, as part of implementation of this, and we can read through chapter 71, but it specifically identifies, and we'd have to reach out to the DP to find out if, you know, if we still have the program. But implementing this plan makes the township eligible for reimbursement for some dollars for that, but you have to apply to the DEP to do it.
In your travels, have you heard any other municipal chit chat about that?
I have not. And chapter 70, I don't know when the last time chapter 71 was updated. It's similar to Act 537. When townships undertake Act 537 updates, there's, you know, the ability to seek reimbursement through the state for that. It's a pretty onerous process.
I'm sure.
At the end of the day, there's a ramping up period. There's a learning curve. And then there's steady state
Right, once it's in place,
into perpetuity.
right,
So
right.
maybe if there's a possibility of getting grants to help us with the ramp up cost, that's probably the biggest single dollar amount in a given year versus once we're,
Mhm.
like you said, and I don't know what the planning commission said, I know there's 1,600 people, but we're not just gonna dump this on 1,600 people tomorrow. Like you said, this geography is year
Well-
one, this geography is year two, and then we're gonna spread it out for a lot of good reasons.
The planning commission actually recommended undertaking a township-wide approach from the jump, not phasing.
Well, I mean, that's it.
Because we wouldn't have the administrative burden
Okay.
of doing 500,
All right.
you know, at a time. The township, the board can make whatever decision they want, but having the ability for Terra Tracker to lessen that administrative burden, I would recommend undertaking that township wide.
Keep in mind one thing, which is there are a lot of people with septics that do have it pumped more regularly. And anyone that kind of fulfilled that obligation already isn't going to be forced to immediately pump it if they got it pumped 6 months ago or even a year ago. If you're on a 3-year, let's just say you're on a 3-year pump cycle. So some of that 1,600, there's a chunk of people who will be able to say, hey, here's my receipt.
Sure.
And they'll be kind of shuffled.
Mhm.
You're gonna have a shuffle anyhow.
Yeah, I mean, there's several different ways of doing it, whatever makes most sense with the people that are looking to do it.
Mhm.
So I have another question. So if we adopt this ordinance, right, are we, is adopting your software different, motions, guys? Cause I don't see it in here.
So real quick, so you still need to review this.
Yeah, so I need to review it. Here's my thought, Mike, is if Terra Track, we would need that your proposal to put before the township and the public to review it and have the board move forward with it. I'm gonna need to take some time anyway to review the draft ordinances, so my thought on kind of procedural would be, I'll look at those, we'll aim to have them for further discussion at our March meeting. And then if we're good to go forward, then adoption at our April meeting.
With all the pricing.
We would need the pricing as a component of that to move forward. Yep.
Yeah, and we would have to hammer out exactly, we wanna know for sure what it is you want, what you don't want. Right, so you do want reporting, you don't want reporting, those kinds of things, because in order for us to give you that proposal, we need to know.
Well, that's something I think you work through with staff.
Yeah, for sure, right,
So
That'll all be called out when it comes before the
Right.
board.
just to kind of expand on what Supervisor Dorado was commenting on as part of the price. Looking at the higher end of what Terra Tracker would cost, presuming it's, you know, $20,000 to implement plus 8 for the first, you know, 2 years after that. If you divide that out by the number of on-lot systems, you're looking at like $22 a year as a fee from a property owner to implement. I think that's on the very high end. So if you're looking at, you know,
So on top of their pumping out, they have to pay
Correct.
22 extra
Correct,
dollars on
yes.
top of that. That might be a hardship for people too, so that's why I'm thinking about the pricing.
Yep,
because-
no, and we're cognizant of that, yeah. So in the contrary, if the township has to, you know, add additional staff, you could be looking at another, you know, $20,000-$30,000 a year for a staff member just to handle SMP implementation, so you have, the board obviously have to be aware of this, when you make a decision
Yes,
that's best fits the township.
yes, I'm very cognizant of the limited amount of time we have with our full-time, with full benefits, insurance, retirement plan. And they have lots of important things to do. This is important, but it's kind of busy work. And it has to get done. And plus, the value, I said, the value of the information is our sewer engineer will have real life information to help us make hard decisions about where we might have to extend public sewer. And that in itself, if we can put that off for 5 years, because like Dad said, more people are doing their pumping, then we're saving lots of money. We're saving our residents a lot of money because we're putting in best management practices for their sewer.
Right. All right. Any other key points we need to hear about or discuss at this point? So, any other questions from the board on this? Any questions from the public on this? You go for it.
It's on that.
Man, two things. So in 537, is there a number as a minimum number of years, or is it just, it needs to be some number because it needs to be planned? Like you mentioned, 3 is kind of recommended, but is there an actual minimum number of years?
The DEP recommends between 1 and 3 years, depending on how many people reside in the dwelling, how much.
But there's no minimum requirement, there's just a recommendation.
You know, that's actually the requirement in chapter 71.
And so, okay, I'll look at it. This felt like a timeshare presentation, honestly. For that much money, and I don't know if anybody saw the complaint website that I put together, we can do our own survey form. Same thing, you fill out the information, it goes into a backend database, you put your own reports out, you can even map it, spend a few hours making that, right? This just seems kind of overkill. I did not expect, this wasn't really even in the agenda for this presentation, so I wasn't really expecting it. So I don't understand, basically you were acting as a salesman for Terra Tracker, kind of making their case for them. But, if we do things smart and efficiently, right, we don't have to throw money at it. It seems like we're throwing, I don't, where's the permit software right now? Like, speaking of software, is it implemented, Scott?
Like my answering questions?
No, anybody, you can, is it implemented?
That's fine.
So we don't have a good track record for this kind of stuff. So I think we need to just do things smarter, more efficiently, and we can probably save quite a bit of money that way. But that's all, that was kind of a shock. Thank you.
So this, anyone else?
Yeah, I'm good.
No.
Any other? Excuse me, Philip, just 1 second.
This vote for the ordinance is just for the draft ordinance, not the tariff, right?
Correct. This is just to authorize the solicitor and the sewer engineer
Okay, just
to
making.
come up with a draft. There's no authorization to advertise or accept.
Okay, thank you, I'm sorry, and yeah, just want to clear.
Go ahead, Philip.
All right, Philip. I don't see how Terra Tracker is of any benefit to a homeowner in this township. There's zero benefit that you guys said. There's no benefit because a stamp is what, 75 cents, 78 cents? And you're talking $25 a year. Well, a stamp's still only 75 cents once a year. I'm winning cheaper. So, what about the people that they're gonna raise taxes because you guys want 20 some odd $1,000 plus then your $8,000 a year, which I assume is an escalating price. That's not gonna be $8,000 for the rest of the time. Right? You're gonna escalate the price over time.
8,000 was the maximum. I think.
Either way, you're going to escalate because nothing ever gets cheaper. So our taxes are gonna go up because of your unnecessary software. Now you're taxing people that don't even have a septic system. How's that benefit them? So they're paying for something they don't need at all. More than the people who already don't need it because I can just get a piece of paper going slower than even Shane suggested.
So I think what they're saying is the homeowner pays it, but initially, in fairness to him, they said the township would hire Terra Tracker. So I think that's where there may be miscommunication. Who's actually paying Terra Tracker?
We would.
The town,
The township would?
who gives the township money?
The town would, and then we would decide if there's a fee to the person that has to be pumped, not the general public. So that it would be individual to only those that need to.
No, I'll just stick with my 78 cent stamp and mail it to you guys every 3 years. Because no, there's no need for something like that when we collectively as a township are smart enough to have one single computer box with a hard drive in it, solid state, that can just collect that information while it's running its own website, as Shane suggested. It's not hard. Yeah. I am sure it was the right thing.
Yes, sir.
This has nothing to do with it. I just went to the bathroom, flushed the urinal, his phone shut off. So we're talking about money, and it's leaking. Is there a plumber in the house?
We have a leaker here in the house.
Dave.
Dave,
Thank you.
anything on duty
Dave, you
required?
learned that in engineering school, right? You gotta fix the urinal.
All right.
Like your Billy.
Sorry. Is this really intercepting? You may want to sense that. Let's pretend, just check it out. And so we go, this goes into,
As long as it doesn't leak out in the office.
I think we have a yearly township fee. Set it up, get it going. When we pump, obviously, just like now, we pay whoever pumps it. And there's a pretty good chance whoever pumped it for us will agree to use this software, because it might make it easier. And then whoever has to compile reports doesn't have to worry about being able to read handwriting. Somewhere in there, we may be billed like $22. We'll get an invoice from Terra Tracker or the township for the pumper. I don't know if it'll be added. You say they're excited. The people you've approached are excited. The pumpers you have approached are excited.
The pumpers that are using it currently in Berks County, are happy with the program, yeah. The pumpers don't.
Program because it's built into the ordinance that you have to use those numbers. I would be happy if I had exclusivity.
Okay,
Well, it's a good question. I just figured, God forbid, let's just say my pumper isn't happy and now I gotta go find a new pumper. I get it pumped by the person who built mine, so, yeah, it's nice to, he knows a lot about it. I assume the software, it compiles the information. It's a computer. Does it drill it down so that a monthly report is sent to our skeleton crew? And they get told, we pumped X number in the last month. These addresses were fine. These 10 addresses need maintenance. We've sent out an automated notice to them that this is what needs to be fixed. We're telling you also so you can follow up. I mean, is it gonna do a lot of the work for the database and things that are checked off with radio buttons by the pumper when he's standing there pumping you and he's saying, and inspecting you and this needs to be fixed?
to answer your question, depends on what we select, correct? What options we select.
I'm sorry.
It depends on what options we select for you to provide.
Well, as far as, I mean, the pumper does fill out the inspection form and then they submit it. But yes, so based on what the township wants to see, and if there are certain things, like if the baffle is broken, that could be an item that flags it. And if the township wants to know about that, we can have it so it flags that. And then when we could let the township know, okay, this month or 2 months, however, whatever frequency they want. Do they want to go 6 months and say, okay, well, who had a broken baffle? We can tell them. The regulatory SEO, the one who has to actually look at it and assess it is the Chester County Health Department.
Okay.
So we can let the township know, and if the township chooses, we could email the information to the health department as well.
I mean, as long as we can get reports that have been drilled down so that nobody here has to open a report and look at every single thing and figure out who's got a problem and
Right.
how are we gonna deal with it? Or is it gonna come in, boom, 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 boom? And or even have automated, an email, a warning, stuff like that, so our people only really have to deal with the ones that didn't clear at 100% and need a little work or need an email or a reminder, a follow-up. I'm just curious. I mean, your software is gonna do as much work as possible. I mean, that's what we're paying. $8,000 a year. Which is gonna just get blended in our budget and possibly bump our taxes up a little, other than the, like $22 fee. The one time when we pump every 3 years.
So the report that we provide to our clients in Berks County, here we list the number and address of those that have pumped during that month, during that quarter, during that year. It would list, this is just based on what they put in their checklist. It would list whether there's a cesspool on site or a septic tank. It could or could not list whether there's a pump tank or a sand mound there. It could list if there's water backflowing into the tank, which would be an indication of some sort of malfunction in the absorption area. It would list, and this is all stuff kind of over and above that goes above the bare minimum sewer management program. It could indicate that there were fresh green grasses growing in the absorption area, and our report would break that down into 15 people pumped. There were 14 cesspools noted during the pumping. 2 of them had fresh green grasses growing in the absorption area. So there's a lot of things we can do with the software. I'm a sewer engineer as well, just like Mr. Porter there, and I see it as worthy because the information that you can gain from it as a public sewer engineer will allow you to stave off forcing public sewer on other people. Because you can say, well, these folks are pumping, there's been less reoccurrence of malfunctions in this area, so now we don't need to take the sewer over into that direction. But as far as the report, we could make it as detailed or as simple as it needed to be. We can, as Kristen had suggested, that gets downloaded as a CSV file, and then it could be part of your GIS so that you could understand the needs. In the Act 537 plan, when you generate that, I'm not sure how they did it in the township, but sometimes you send out surveys, they come back with what the homeowner thinks they have on the site. Well, this is a step better in many aspects because now you're sending somebody out there that understands a one-lot sewer system.
Yeah.
And he's saying, well, you know, you don't have a holding tank, you actually have a cesspool or a septic tank. We've gotten surveys back that generally the homeowner has no clue what's out there. They say, well, I have a tank in the ground. They don't know if it's a cesspool, a septic tank, or a holding tank. They really just have no clue. So it helps with sewer planning in that you start building an inventory of what's in your system. Maybe you have one area in the township that has all cesspools on site and they're small lots. Well, then it would help your sewer engineer determine that's an area for public sewer.
Is one of the questions for the pumper, what type of system do they?
It can be.
And
Can be.
we can break it
Yeah,
down.
because that might affect. Sorry, I have the same kind she has. Apparently, it's rare. Yeah. Yeah, also looking for how much you can drill down to keep it easy.
Right. So one thing that, when we were developing the software, one thing that we wanted to make sure is that personal information is locked down. So one of the gentlemen suggested he could help out with an app, maybe he can, but I don't know where that personal information that he's getting from homeowners is going. It's going on his computer, I don't know, but with our software, it goes up in the cloud and there's protection from any hacking to go into to gain that information. And part of the reason is you don't want to put that information up there for other pumpers to say, well, now East Fallowfield has a sewer management program, they're required to pump. Who are all the people out there that I can contact? So then it becomes basically solicitation from the pumpers. And so we try and lock that, we do lock that information down, so it's not available to just anybody.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Connie?
That's it.
Any other public comment?
My name's Nick, here in East Falco. I guess one of my questions for the tracker is, does your software have the ability to work offline for the pumpers as well? We have a lot of connectivity issues out in this area.
No, you might not have heard. So what we do for people who, if they don't have service or if they don't use technology, they can print out, we recommend they print
Yeah,
out.
I heard
hard
you print
copies,
it.
and they have them in their truck so that if for some reason something happens and they, you know,
Okay,
they don't
so there
have-
was still, you have that option, but
We,
there's still an
when the
administrative.
pumpers get registered with us, we go through all that with them, that we recommend they keep copies in their truck. If they know they're going out to East Fallowfield, they'll have a hard copy, just in case. But obviously the goal is they do it on their, phone or their iPad.
Sure, I think a lot of our residents know that our service out here is not fantastic at all. So, it's a common issue for every mobile carrier. So I was just curious.
Okay.
I think, and I guess a question for you is, when I was reading through Act 537, I guess one of my questions was from my understanding, reading it, was that there's a 3-year requirement unless the manager acknowledges for your tank to maintain like 1/3 salvage, or there's some verbiage in there as far as that is concerned. Yep. So I guess, my question to the board would be then, is there any acknowledgement for myself or other residents where our system's size significantly larger because of the house that we have than the number of occupants that are in that house? Like my septic system size for a household of 6 people, and I'm only myself, so reaching that 1/3 level would take me a lot longer than, say, a family of 6 living in that same household. So I think if there's a provision in there to acknowledge the number of residents that are in that as well, and I don't know if the act acknowledges that.
The ordinance, the septic management ordinance, when it's passed, we could build something in to accommodate that. I think that would be an unusual circumstance, to have, 5 or 6 bedroom home with, 1 or 2 people occupying the home. But it could happen. The DEP's guidance is, or actually, chapter 71 states removal of septic or other solids from the treatment tank once every 3 years, or whenever an inspection program reveals that the treatment tanks are filled with solids in excess of 1/3 of the liquid depth of the tank, or with the scum in excess of 1/3 of the liquid depth of the tank. So basically, you have a solid layer, liquid layer, and then a scum layer on the top. If the liquid layer is less than 1/3 of any of those layers at any time, it indicates that you need more frequent pumping. If at the end of 3 years, what this gentleman is saying, that his liquid level is far in excess of 1/3, because they simply don't generate as much sewage, with a larger design system, is there the opportunity to scale back on his requirement? And I think the answer would be yes. It would be a unique circumstance, but certainly we could build something into the SMP. I handle that on a case by case basis.
That's a good point he raised, but the county says, the county really does, I don't know if the county knows how many people are in my home, but they know how many bedrooms are in my home. And so they say every 3 years.
Correct.
And I understand that, it's just me and the wife, but who knows who's there?
So
So,
they should off your census though.
well,
The whole purpose of this act is because, forgive my verbiage, but people are ignorant and they don't maintain their own systems. So the county has to step in and say, hey, you have to do this. So people not knowing about their septic systems is because they're ignorant. It is what it is. So we have to.
I wrote it down as a note to hold it. I think there's a process you can establish to.
Because when I moved into my house, I didn't know how much I would use. I had a septic tank come out, pump it the month that I bought my house. We waited a year, pumped it again to see how much of a level we were using to kind of gauge me as to how often I would need to pump at my house. So, I did my due diligence because other people can't do their due diligence. Now we have to pay fees, or taxes, or however everything is paid because people don't do their due diligence.
So can I try to ask a question, try to get to what you're saying?
Sure.
To Mr. Porter, Mr. Boldes. once the hauler comes out and sees the specifics of a trend at a specific site, can the pumper give a recommendation? Hey, this guy doesn't need to be hauled down for 4 years.
Yeah.
Like the pumper has.
Mine does that.
professional lat-
Right, some sort of exemption similar to.
that our ordinance would
Yes,
would allow.
so yes.
Okay.
If you get pumped regularly, and my guy tells me every 2 years from my house.
Yeah.
But yeah, whatever they determine, they put a note on there, we'll see in 2 to 3 years, your choice.
So it's not one of the shotguns, they're only good to 3 years. There's reality.
I thought that was written into.
I think that was my point,
determined.
was to
That's
bring.
not trying to understand your point.
So. Valid point, heard you, pumpers already provide that, or certain pumpers provide it, Mike is gonna take a look at that to see if we can.
Yeah,
Thank you. Yes, Shane.
I just was saying, because I'm in a house by myself and I don't know how many gallons, it's massive, but I went 5 years and they had to pump it because something was wrong and it ended up being my pump and I fixed it, but it was like halfway. He's like, dude, you were okay, but I wanted to make sure, but that was after 5 years, right? It's a massive tank. So doing it every 3 would waste a lot of money for me.
I understand. I think what the point was is, once this act comes into effect, once you have, the assumption would be, and we can see how it was written, once you get a pump and they make that determination for you, we can see what that entails. So if you're a single person or you have a low flow house that doesn't generate that much waste, then we accommodate accordingly. Yes, Connie.
Quick question to build upon his initial question. Sorry, didn't want to limp up there again.
That's fine.
And it should be quick. Can they enter their information in the digital device, but they have no signal, and can it be offline and possibly when they get back to home base, then when they're online, submit the reports?
Oh,
If they
yeah,
don't want to do paper,
yeah, that's how they would do it.
okay.
Yeah.
It can be offline, online, just send the report later.
Yep, okay, yeah.
All right, any other public comment? All right, so for the irony portion of it, now we'll make a motion. I make a motion to authorize the township solicitor and sewer engineer to prepare a draft model holding tank ordinance and on-lot sewage management program ordinance consistent with the Township Act's 537 sewage facilities plan.
Second.
Any questions or comments from the board? Any questions or comments from the public? Yes, Shane.
Just curious if there are any other companies like Terra Tracker, because I would assume it would count as a contractor and, maybe we would bid that out. I don't know if they have competition. I don't know.
That's a question for Dave. I've not researched.
Dave, are there other tracking softwares available?
The best of my knowledge, no. We actually looked in the past to kind of piggyback off the townships, I think trash collection and there were other billing software. And I think that the fees related to that were somewhere in the $6,000 to $7,000 range. But again, it would be those fees plus administrative staff costs to build on that. I don't even know if the township still was using, that was probably 2018 or 19 when we talked about that initially. Scott, I don't recall.
Which software are you referring to?
It was actually when Connie Martin was with the township, it was whatever software the township was using for invoicing and
We're not doing that internally now.
so, yeah, to best of my knowledge, there was no other comparable software, and Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike Crotty. This would be sort of a service, so.
So yeah, probably fit under professional service, but it's a good point that we still want to price shop.
Yep, no, absolutely, yeah, but to the best of my knowledge, I'm not aware of any other specific software for septic management.
And also I wanted to make clear, I wasn't saying I was gonna host the data publicly on my own computer. They kind of generated a straw man argument about that. Obviously, where we hold our website, there's security protocols. It could just be a page on the website you go on, fill out, and it's all in the database. I mean, it can be secure on our end and it won't cost. I mean, the IRS has had breaches.
All right, well, I think the point, this is still early in the process, so this will still be vetted a couple more times.
How old is your company? Like, how many years have you been doing this?
When did we?
Functioning as a operating company, or not, we were.
The software's been active, for going on 3 years now.
Okay, so base company.
It still works.
Any other public comment? Call for the vote?
Aye.
All right, Scott.
Next on the list, there's a proposed resolution in the agenda, allowing a township to sell a retired vehicle on gov deals.
Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to approve resolution, number 2026-04, authorizing the sale of surplus property as presented. You have to add that make and model of the car in that motion, Scott?
No, it's in the resolution.
Any questions or comments from the board? Any questions or comments from the public?
I do, sort of, because it's related to, it's not directly about the Honda CRV, but as a township, have we ever, I'm only in for 10 years now, so have we ever, or would we ever do an actual township auction? Is that something that is even allowed? Because I've seen, I mean, the government has their auction website. I'm was curious if we, as a township, have gotten to the point where we do actually have a surplus of things and stuff that could be sold off to be put directly to our bottom line. I mean, yes, we have this car, but is that literally the only thing our township has to sell? Or is there a?
Right now.
Retired policeman.
Scott, we reached.
Yeah, so currently it doesn't sound like
Yeah,
it.
I was just curious if it's something our township has ever done, just like in the
To
past.
my knowledge, I don't think we have.
Yeah, they did, you put it a couple years ago, when Tag was still alive. We sell other stuff, yeah.
Okay, so I was just asked, that, like I said, it was kind of in relation, adjacent to this.
Almost.
Alright, thank you.
Any other? Yes, Connie,
Before I recommend it to anybody, what were they used for?
did we use it for anything?
I was in police. It's a police vehicle.
Police vehicle, apparently.
A CRV?
Undercover? Yeah, way undercover.
Any other questions or comments from the public?
Big Brothers one.
Call for the vote? Aye.
All right, next on the list is township lease agreement. For photocopier, 60-month lease agreement with Rothwell Document Solutions. It's under the Pennsylvania CoStar program. And there is a proposed resolution in the packet.
I make a motion to authorize the township manager to sign a 60-month lease agreement with Rothwell Document Solutions under the Pennsylvania CoStar program for copier systems at $250 per month.
Second.
Any questions or comments from the board? Any questions or comments from the public? Shane?
How many do we have?
We have two.
So it's $15,000 over 5 years for 2 copiers. With, does that include like maintenance, warranty, like is that all soup and nuts?
What does that include, Scott?
Everything but the paper and the staples.
And that they cover the ink and everything?
Yep.
Fine.
Is this purely the copies, like the photocopiers, or do they include like shredding service and digitization services? Is that all in that 250, or is it just the copiers?
Just the copies. We use them for scanning as well.
Any other questions or comments from the public? Call for the vote?
Next on the list, there's a proposed motion in the packet retroactively approving the low bid from petroleum traders for unleaded gasoline. This is something that the township participates in every year as a cost savings measure. We participate in this consortium to save money on gasoline and diesel fuel.
This came through last week and needed a 24-hour approval.
Yes, yeah. So it's through the Chester County Intermediate Unit. At least a dozen other townships in Chester County participate.
I make a motion approving the township's participation in the 2026 Chester County Intermediate Unit's joint bid for fuel and retroactively approving the low bid from petroleum traders for unleaded gasoline at $1.99 per gallon firm pricing, and the low bid from Gutman or Gutman? Gutman Oil for 2% biodiesel at $2.43 per gallon firm pricing.
Second.
Any questions or comments from the board? Questions or comments from the public? Yes.
Just a quick question, the fuel, who uses the fuel?
Us, police and public works.
Police and public works.
Any other questions or comments from the public?
Does East Fallowfield have its own pump and tank system?
Yeah.
We do?
Yep.
I didn't know that. I learned that
I
today.
just updated.
I learned that today.
Nice news.
Any other questions or comments? Call for the vote. Aye.
All right, thanks. Next on the list, the township is looking to hire an intern for this semester, through Westchester University Department of Political Science. The intern will be working 8 hours a week, to help us dispose of records in accordance with, Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania Records Manual. Just making sure everything is properly scanned into our Laserfeed software. We did this, last time we did this was probably, I don't know, 8 years ago. So it's time for us to do this again. It's also a great opportunity for an up and coming political science student to learn about a little bit more about local government here. We have someone in mind who's ready to start next week named Isabel. We just need the board to approve this.
8 hours a week for how long?
Just be for this semester. It's up to 114 hours.
I make a motion to authorize the township manager to hire a student intern at the rate of $15 per hour to assist with the township's record retention project in partnership with the Westchester University Department of Political Science, with employment to be on a part-time temporary basis.
Second. Any questions or comments from the board?
Sounds like a great idea.
Any questions or comments from the public?
So you said the last time we did something like this was like 8 years ago?
Yes.
Yeah. And it definitely sounds like a fantastic idea, especially considering it for all intents and purposes cheap labor. But looking around, shouldn't we do it a little more often than every 8 years? Cause we got a lot of boxes and that's in this room.
Probably.
So that's for as cheap as that labor is and the benefit to the student. Shouldn't we do that every year?
Well, it sounds like we'll see how it goes this semester and then go from there.
Yeah. Or every semester for that matter?
Point taken.
Yeah.
Yes, Connie.
I'm assuming it's old records. You know, the oldest and moving forward in time as they get that more done, it's everything but the historic commission stuff, correct?
Correct. So Connie, the Pennsylvania Historical Museum Commission, the PHMC, puts out the record retention manual the township has adopted. It's over 130 pages long with all kinds of categories of what type of documents there are and how long they have to be preserved.
I mean, they can
It would be-
scan them, just don't throw them.
It would not be deleted
Yeah.
historical records.
Okay. Shane,
Is this someone's like family friend or was there a job post put out?
how do we come about this, Scott?
I just contacted Westchester University and we got in contact with the coordinator of the program, put us in contact with the intern.
Any other questions? Call for the vote. Aye.
One, next on the list is a proposed resolution, would authorize the submission of a grant application to DCED's Greenways, Trails and Recreation Program. Just real quick on that, there was a project that was submitted to the township last year. We're not asking for the board to approve that, it's simply asking for the board for approval to submit the grant application. The project is $500,000. That is the budgeted cost. We've already secured $250,000 through DCNR, and this would just get us closer to the finish line.
So what is the project for?
This would be the park expansion project. This the expanding the park across from 70s, putting a playground in there. There was pickleball.
Okay, we talked about it previously.
Yep.
All right, what's the resolution number?
Oh, it's not in there. Should be in. It's 05.
05.
Yep.
All right, I make a motion approving the submission of resolution 2026-05, authorizing the submission of a grant application to DCED's Greenways, Trails and Recreation Program in the amount of $250,000 for upgrades to the township's community park and authorizing the township manager to execute all documents.
Second.
Any questions or comments from the board? Any questions or comments from the public? Call for the vote. Aye. Anything else? All
That's all I had. Thanks, everybody.
right, Mike.
Great, so solicitor time. So the first item on the solicitor agenda is the Act 172 ordinance. I know we've talked about this a number of times in the past. It's an ordinance to, Act 172 was adopted in 2016. There was a series of measures to try to promote volunteerism through the fire company and EMS. It does two things. One, it gives a property tax break up to, I think it's $1,000 for their EIT, earned income tax, up to $1,000 for earned income tax for an active volunteer. And there's a lengthy, kind of point system that has to be implemented, for someone to qualify as a volunteer. It also then gives a tax break for real estate taxes for a volunteer who owns property in the township. It's been, the metrics for what qualifies as an active volunteer were developed through the county. And those, I believe, are already in place through our existing, fire and ambulance company. So it's not an extra burden on them to have to implement this point system.
Do I have a motion?
Make a motion adopting ordinance 2026-01, establishing a volunteer service credit program for volunteer fire companies and nonprofit emergency medical services pursuant to Act 172 of 2016.
Second,
Any questions or comments from the board?
Another great idea.
good idea.
Any questions or comments from the public? Yes, Shane.
I assume there's no cap on this, right?
So for the EIT, there is a cap of $1,000. For the real estate, it's only obviously their township tax, but it's up to 100%. It's stratified. It depends on how much activity they have and how many points they accumulate for a particular year.
Thank you.
And then
I'm assuming that this is known amongst the emergency medical
Mike, McLean,
life.
you guys are on board with this?
it's not something that's a big old
I know.
secret that we've got to find out.
Now, we've done this, through the county for past year.
All right, cool. No, that's a fantastic.
Any other questions or comments? Yes, John.
I'll just let you vote, and I just want to make a comment.
Okay, yes,
Is
Shane.
it, I mean, is there a way the township could put out to residents and say, hey, I mean, I'm sure you guys need more volunteers, or you're gonna go with it? Okay.
Yeah, that should definitely hit the newsletter with these
Emails, township webpage.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye. Go ahead, John.
Thanks,
Remember,
Steve.
if something mean, John, they can do a motion to reverse that.
Okay, all right. I had to wait till the vote. Just wanted to represent the two fire companies in township and thank the board for passing that and for your commitment to supporting our emergency services. The big thing is that obviously we have seen a significant decline in volunteerism and it continues to go in the direction we don't want to see it go. But to your point, getting that in the newsletter to let residents know, since taxes are always a big topic here, that they can save money, which essentially in the long term, even though it's a couple $100 here and there per resident, it's going to save hundreds of thousands of dollars for the career firefighters that eventually we're going to need. And if we can push that off a little bit longer, it's great. And it's great to see that the townships and a couple other municipalities around us have continued to support that. We were able to update the county ordinance, so this will follow the county ordinance, which the model has a point system, which it outlines how a volunteer can save their taxes based on that tiered system that Mike indicated. So it's 10%, 25%, 50%, 75%, up to 100%. Obviously, I don't live in the township, but I was proud to support this and appreciate the board pushing that through. So thank you very much. Thank you, John. Thanks.
Great, next on my agenda is the approval of the subdivision for 54 Rokeby Road. This applicant's been before our planning commission. It's been reviewed by our township engineer. It's ready for your approval. To generally describe it, there's currently two lots. One is a flag, sort of a flag lot. And what they're doing is changing the lot lines between the two existing lots to shift things over a little bit. And then the very larger, I'll call flag lot, will then be subdivided in two with one single new home on it and a shared driveway between them. So we have our standard form of decision with our standard conditions, including
compliance by the applicant with any outstanding items in the township engineer's review letter. Compliance with the planning commission comments from their meeting on February 2nd, in which they recommend approval with conditions. A shared driveway agreement in form and substance satisfactory to the township. Continuing compliance with all different township ordinances. And, adding plan notes is recommended by the township engineer. And then payment of the township professional consultant review fees, which is a requirement of the Pennsylvania Municipality Plan Code.
Do I have a motion?
I move the township approve the subdivision plans for 54 Rokeby Road, contingent upon the applicant addressing all the engineer's comments for the form of decision presented by the township solicitor.
Second. Any questions or comments from the board?
Thank you.
Any questions or comments from the public? Call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Good luck, congratulations. Next on the agenda is the draft ordinance to repeal ordinance 2024-01, which is the single-use plastics ordinance that was adopted back in 2024. And this would be repealing.
Make a motion to adopt ordinance 2026-02, repealing ordinance number 2024-01, single-use plastic ban.
Second.
Any questions or comments from the board?
I make a motion to make an amendment to the motion. So I would like, thank you, and I would like to make a motion in cooperation with the township and in support of nature and plants and animals. We are their only voice. So I would like to make a motion to amend the ordinance to reinstate the bag ban with an exception to the establishments of Triple Fresh and 7 Ts up until the time and change of ownership. And for the ban to apply to any new businesses and or owners. With the support of the board to make a compromise with that motion. We can support it and keep a clean environment, but support our businesses also.
Is there a second?
Yes, there was a second.
Sorry, I did not hear that. I apologize.
Talk about it later.
Okay. All right, questions or comments on the motion to amend? From the board? Questions or comments on the motion to amend from the public? Yes, Shane.
That was not in the survey and that's not what people said in the survey. So I think, going with what the residents voiced would be great.
Any other? Yes, Phil.
Last time this came up, when it was addressed for a grandfather clause, I believe you said we couldn't do that because it would not be fair to other businesses.
I think I might have said that, but yes.
Mike, I believe you addressed it. So when you speak, I assume you're talking from a legal standpoint.
Which
Can
one?
I say something?
So I'm just trying.
Yeah,
there's two of us. We'll see next to each other.
Hold on one second, one
Correct time. So I just want to make sure it wasn't just to me. Would you like to address anything?
Yeah, so let's see how the motion goes first, and then we'll have to address, if that motion carries, we'll have to re-advertise the ordinance and bring it back for consideration at our March meeting.
Can I address Philip?
Yes.
So Philip, what I'm saying in this motion is that we would make an exception to Triple Fresh. That's my motion. I considered all the options.
I heard
And
you.
I feel that we could make an exception to Triple Fresh and 7 Ts, and I hope we have their support. And then, until they would change ownership and for all future new businesses to have bans, so.
I understand what you said, but like I said, when this was previously discussed, it was, it came across as though legally a grandfather clause, that's what that is, would not be allowed.
But this is saying until they change ownership.
That's still a grandfather clause up until that point.
I think.
That's still a grandfather clause.
I think it could be made.
And what is the definition of changing ownership? Because if one of Mike's continued family members own it, technically it's not really changing ownership because the family still owns it. So.
If they legally change ownership, it will be considered a new business, so,
That's.
I'm trying to make a compromise.
I
feel
understand.
That we need to keep, I've lived in East Fallowfield for over 30 years. I feel like we need to protect the environment, the plants, the animals. They don't have a voice. This is a level where we can make a difference, is right here. Otherwise, who else is gonna make it? Who else is gonna protect against pollution and protect the environment if we don't do it right here? Where we can make a difference, plus we can support the businesses, so. That we have now, and any new business going forward would have to comply. So that's where I stand.
Did you have further comment or no? I just make sure I understand everything. Okay. Thank Dennis Ching had his hand up first. I apologize.
It would be great, and it's very nice to have at least 3 people who are being true representatives. It would be great to have 5 instead of 2 people who seem to be representing their friend instead of their constituents. And you can give the Save the Planet speech all you want, but we went through that, right? John quit, he pushed it down our throats.
Has
Right.
nothing to do with.
It doesn't matter, I'm speaking, I'm sorry, it's how I feel, it could be wrong, but it is the perception that you are giving, and it is abhorrent.
I've
Right.
always been for the environment.
Sure, that's great, but that
Okay,
is cap,
if I
you
can
are a
interject.
representative.
All
And
right,
I represent the township.
excuse me.
And for clean
Excuse me,
environment.
both of you. All right, I think we made our point. Dennis, you had a question or comment?
I think the whole plastic bag ban was a joke. If, I actually reuse them. And if you want to save the environment, the best way to save the environment is to reuse plastic bags. How many, I reuse them because plastic bags, you have to go and get reused bags or a special trash bag for your trash. That's a whole manufacturing process that pollutes. It has to carry that bag to the store and somebody picking it up. That's where your emissions and pollution and wildlife. I see cigarette butts being a major problem in this area. Somebody keeps throwing cigarette butts off Park Avenue continuously. Where's the ban on that? Where's the fine on that? How about we put some sort of refund on that, like a CRV, so that people return their cigarette butts instead of throwing, that's fiberglass. You know how long it takes fiberglass to break down? That's a big problem. And since I moved back in this township, 2021, I saw one bag go down the road. And that was actually because the trash truck, it fell out of the trash can. That's the only bag I flew around. And it seems like we're chasing this massive beast that isn't around here. I mean, how many bags have people seen today just flying around? I've seen this in California. It's a joke. It's a tax. Okay. Philadelphia got rid of the plastic bags. Now they charge you for paper bags. It's all a tax. I want to hear how we're going to save money and cut costs. Not about plastic bags, not about a software program that's going to increase our taxes. So I really would like to hear more of that. I do care about the environment. I scuba dive. I camp out in the wildlife. I've always been an outdoor person. The biggest contributor is you, yourself, and every one of us picking up trash that somebody threw out. I was in Coatesville downtown when I moved here, and I saw people throw, it was people that lived in Coatesville, and I was down by the grocery outlet. They threw out a Doritos bag. These two ladies, out just munching Doritos, threw it out, not in my truck. I usually go, when I see somebody throw out a cigarette butt, I pick it up and I say, you drop something. I put them on call. Okay. Because that's wrong. Okay. So the thing is, why don't we go and educate people rather than penalize people? Don't penalize people that use the bags in a good way. Anyway.
Any other questions or comments from the public on the amended motion?
I just had a question about
Sure.
the park bench that I think it's later. I don't think is that one of Jahaco's? So that right there is recycled plastic bag. Right? I think that's apropos for.
Any other questions or comments on the motion to amend? Call for the vote,
Aye.
nay,
Nay,
motion fails. Questions or
Mr.
comments?
Chairman, I so move the table.
Second.
what are we tabling?
The original motion,
Does he need a second to table?
she seconded, I'm being her.
Oh, okay.
You just.
Give a second, Connie. I just have to take my. All right, so yes, the motion by Wilson is to motion to table the current motion to accept the repeal of the original bag ban. So questions or comments on the motion to table from the board? Questions or comments from the public on the motion to table? Yes, Mike. Philip, Mike was right.
You got it. I got one of your back.
Mike, Petro, Black Run Road. Just on that, I wasn't able to be at the meeting last month. But I did watch it online. And I know that a conversation that I had with John came up, as well as I came up here after the initial vote. Well, one of the things that was missing in that discussion was, while we did have initial support for the ban, it was all the caveats that came with it. And the following discussions that happened, why it would make sense for us and what would be better than just outright banning it. So I just want to be clear of and my brother's here too, he can speak on it as well. We are not for it. Triple Fresh is not for it, the way that it's constituted. One, all it does is, it's not gonna take microplastics out of our cells. It's not gonna clean up the Atlantic Ocean. What it is gonna do is hurt our business. And as one of the only businesses in East Fallsview, the only thing that it's gonna do is push sales and therefore tax and therefore customers and therefore revenue for us to another township. If it really was about the environment, then start with municipalities that have more businesses. Why are we not going up to Salisbury and Thorndale and Coatesville, those that have multiple businesses? Why are we starting here? Triple Fresh and 7P should be the end game, not the beginning of this process. If it was deemed that there was enough support for it and the county decided to do it, we would be all for it. Because then we would all be playing on an equal playing field. The rest of the people that we, are going up against, our competition, would also have it. Right now, they don't. We saw, when this was first went into effect, we saw a significant amount of customers not come in, a significant drop in our customer count that we don't get back. People change their habits and it's really hard to get them back. Same thing happened when the bridge went down. Same thing happened when they closed the school. It's a bite at the apple, a bite at the apple. And it's constant. There's a reason why you don't see businesses like ours anymore, because it's hard. It's hard to make a profit. It's hard to get in and open those doors every single day and turn a profit and be able to give people employment opportunities, much less keep a roof over me and my brothers. We don't need to make it harder. It shouldn't be your job to make our lives and running our businesses harder. And that's the only thing that this will do. If it's a countywide thing, like I said, we're all for it. Because then we're all playing on the same ball field. But that's not what this does. This is singling us out and making it harder for us. And I'm sure 7Ps would think the same thing. If they're less convenient, it's not much a distance to go down to Napoli's, which used to be PG's. And same thing with us. The people that live in this township don't work in this township anymore like they used to. Not as many of them work at the steel mill. Their travel habits changed. They're going from all over the place. It's just as easy to stop at a Wawa or up at a Walmart. Or now, I'm sure you guys are all aware, Hershey's just sold the sheets up in Parkville. So again, that's another bite of coming out of our pocket. There's no need to make this harder on us. It's as hard as it is. So I appreciate the sentiment about the amendment. And again, I just wanted to make sure that was clear, that this is not good. It's not good for us. It's not beneficial for us in any way. And it's not going to get the end result that you hope for. So, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the public on the motion to table?
I don't understand.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Dick, you had your hand up first. I apologize.
Mike, does tabling this have cost impact to re-advertise?
It would not, although because we have 60 days after it's been after the right to adopt it, so that part wouldn't. What we would need to do though is I think the current moratorium runs out at the end of the month, so it would require either extension of the moratorium that's in place or
Which would require advertisement of the extension, correct?
That would not, because it's just by motion or resolution.
Okay.
Philip, you had a question? or comment?
Yeah, all right, well, first, so if it gets tabled and the current pause on it ends in a few days, since it's tabled, Triple Fresh is forced to hold back their bags again because the date has passed. So legally, they have to stop doing bags because they want to table this so that we can be pushed off yet again when they've been told repeatedly by this township, it's not something this township wants.
The scenario you put forth, yes, that's how it could play out.
Okay,
But
so,
also to my
so
point,
tabling is just a sidebar of enacting the ban.
we haven't voted on this motion, one. Two, if the motion to table does go through, we could make a motion to extend the moratorium that was in place already. Just as there's a couple different paths here in scenarios.
I get it, but this is
Just
more
trying to
discouraging.
clarify. That's all. I'm not disagreeing or agreeing. I'm just,
Tabling is just delaying for delay's sake.
yes, Dennis.
I'm just wondering, is there any data to even back up this bag ban? Is there something that's showing that microplastics have increased by 50% because of plastic bags? I'd
In
like to
this
see that. Yep, in the area that we're trying to push this. Was there a vote by people? Because you guys were elected by people. What's the vote actually saying about the people who elected you? Is there concrete data on this, or is this just on feeling? I'm kind of curious.
Any other questions or comments on the motion to table? Is it Charles?
Chris,
Chris, I apologize, Chris.
East Brownfield Township. In defense and support of Triple Fresh and to address Miss Save the Planet, Save the Animals theory. When's the last time you were in Triple Fresh?
I have frequent, triple fish, most of my life, even when it was
Okay.
Webster's.
So you've gone in the entrance and have you seen the recycling bucket that's always been out there for bags?
So if there's
Did
no
they have-
ban on for residents to use plastics.
They've been recycling them for God knows how long, how many years. I've been here
But
20
the
years and that's always been out there.
The ban is not.
So why
on
is it an issue?
residents. It's not on.
And now they're collecting those loophole use again bags too.
The ban,
more
sir,
people.
is not on residents. They can use all the plastic recyclable bags if you wish, though, just so you know.
Right, just want to hurt business.
Any other questions? Yes, thank you.
I just have one comment, I guess, to everybody is, I agree, I think in a concept of having businesses being able to make decisions that the government doesn't need to have a hand in. I think if a business such as, you know, if Kat were to have a business where she felt that recycling was the most important thing to her, people who shared that value would go to her store rather than a store who didn't. And I think that if a store saw a need by the residents to do that, they could do so on their own without having the township tell them this is a requirement. With the same concept, if you don't agree with, say, Amazon or Walmart's hiring practices or how they treat their employees, then don't shop there. You know, if you feel that a business isn't, you know, upholding your values, you know, then bring your own bags. But I don't think the township should be making a decision that's ultimately, you know, gonna affect the rest of us, where we've seen in Upper Marion Township, and I came from Delaware before I came here, that, you know, the plastic bags lead to paper bags, which use trees. So I really don't understand the concept of, you know, it being better for the environment per se. You know, back in the 60s, we, you know, 70s, whatever, we had paper bags, there were no plastic bags, and then they made the switch because cutting down trees was bad, and we decided that plastics were better. So we switched to plastics, and now, years later, we're deciding plastics bag, well, we gotta go back to paper. You know, we might know what we think we know right now, but looking back at it 40 years later, we're going back to paper bags, what we had, you know, years ago. So, you know, I think maybe if we have a report that says something, maybe it's not, you know, maybe we want it to be correct, but maybe it's not the actual correct answer, because we're going back to what we had years ago. So.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on the table, motions to table? Call for the vote?
Aye.
Nay,
Nay,
motion fails. Any questions on our comments on the original motion to repeal? From the board? Any questions or comments from the public on the initial motions to repeal? Call for the vote? Aye.
aye,
No.
Deb, you were. Motion passes 3-2.
Nay, Howard?
Yeah, I was, yes, go ahead, Deb. Yes.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Yes,
All
Wilson.
all questions and comments you called for.
And she asked,
That's good.
and I'm allowing it. As others have done in the past.
That's why I raised the point of view.
Understood, thank you. Yes, Deb.
You want me to say?
Yes, please continue.
I want to make a comment about my vote because it's pretty obvious that I broke this tie. I personally agree with Van. On a personal level, I use recyclable bags all the time. I've been doing so for 15 plus years. That's me. I support anything that attempts to reduce the use of things that we throw in the trash. That's me personally. I think change is hard. I think it's uncomfortable. I think it takes people off, but I also think sometimes it is necessary to move in the right direction. That said, I feel this is best done on a county or state level, and that is the sole reason. I think it is confusing to drive through one town and into another, whether you are a resident or not, and not know what town you're going into and what their rules are. It is much easier when it's done on a larger scale. And it is that reason only that I have decided to take the vote for that tonight. Just want to make it really clear where I personally stand and why I made the vote I did.
And since we're making comments after that, I'm glad you established that you do not value democratic infrastructure, policy, dogma, and values. Sure.
Okay. Thank you. Mike, your next item, please.
Yeah, so the next item on the agenda is the police collective bargaining agreement for 2025 and 2027. Although it may seem new or it may seem like Groundhog Day, we've actually approved all the key terms and provisions of it through an MOU, the memorandum of understanding back last June. The current CBA collective bargaining agreement just takes those and blends them into the overall agreement. So there's nothing new about this. It's just taking those terms from the MOU that we adopted last June and putting them into the actual CBA.
I make a motion to approve the 2025-2027 police collective bargaining agreement as presented.
Second. Any questions or comments from the board?
It says 2025, so people may think like, why did it take so long? But I could, from where I'm sitting in my catbird seat, the process just took that long for all the parties concerned. Is that fair, Scott?
Yeah, we were just waiting on
It just, yeah, I hate seeing this, the back of the thing to me, like I was in the audience, oh my gosh, but it was just, that's just kind of how it had to play out.
Yeah, the police just had to assign it on their end.
Nobody was being difficult, it just.
Nope. Yep.
All right, thank you for clarifying, Scott.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Questions or comments from the public? Call for the vote.
Aye.
Next, there's a grant agreement on the agenda for Chester County Conservation District with Chester County Conservation District for stream crossing at Morganville Road.
I make a motion approving a grant agreement with Chester County Conservation District for the bridge reconstruction / stream crossing project at the currently closed Morganville Road Bridge.
Second.
Any questions or comments from the board?
This is an excellent idea and environmentally sound.
Any questions?
job, Scott.
Any questions or comments from the public? Yes, Shane.
What does grant agreement mean? Is it a grant? Is there some agreement we have?
It's a grant we've already received, but we need an agreement. The county puts in place an agreement to make sure that when they're giving us the money, that we're using it for that purpose.
Any other questions or comments from the public? Call for the vote.
Aye.
Last but not least, there is a zoning hearing board application the township received for a special exception, and there's a couple variances in there too, for, maybe not variances, special exception for 20 Wilmington Road. So that'll be going before the zoning hearing board. The board has the option to take some kind of position, pro, con, or neutral on it. They are requesting special exception relief in order to operate a bed and breakfast pursuant to the provisions of our ordinance. There's like A through K standards, so I won't go through all those. The special exception, while it may sound like it's something that you should be concerned about, the old trope is it's neither special nor an exception. An applicant just has to come in and prove that they meet the objective criteria of the ordinance before the zoning hearing board. The zoning hearing board is the judge on it. It makes the ultimate decision, and anyone who disagrees with it can appeal that to the Chester County Court of Common Pleas.
So, Mr. Crowdy, without getting too far down the rabbit hole, VRBO, short-term rental, bed and breakfast, at the end of the day, someone's renting out part of their space. I know we're currently discussing the possibility of a rental unit ordinance. If we had a rental unit ordinance in place, would this use apply if it were approved by the zoning board?
So this is for an actual B and B, where it would come in, it has to be owner occupied.
So B&B is a different definition than the other.
Yeah, if they were coming in to not have an owner occupied, they would need a variance.
Okay, so bed and breakfast has certain rules that they can show the zoning board they're gonna comply with.
Correct, yep.
And the rules are from the state.
No, the rules are from our zoning board.
They are in the zoning board, so it does cover the use in question.
Yep.
All right, thank you for clarifying.
Do we need to provide direction or?
You do not need to provide, the only reason you need to provide direction is if you want to take some kind of pro, con, or neutral position. You don't have to.
Any questions or comments on that?
Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you. Planning Commission, no report submitted. I make the motion to accept the resignation of Planning Commission member Joe Heffron.
Okay,
Any questions or comments from the board?
thanks, Joe.
Yeah, we're starting to see Joe go.
Did a good job.
We now have a vacancy.
Yes. Any questions or comments from the public? Yes.
I thought I thought you had resigned from that as well, but maybe it was something else.
I did not know.
You did not? Okay.
She rescinded her application to the municipal.
That was it. Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments from the public? Call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye. Police Department report, was submitted to resident review. Chief, anything else we need to discuss or hear from you about?
No, sir.
Thank you. Public Works Road Department, report was submitted for review. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion approving the structure of the 2026 F-250 crew cab. The New Holland Auto is now $68,548 under the PA Co-Stars program for the township's capital fund.
Second.
Scott, anything you want to discuss?
This is to replace a 20-year-old pickup truck.
Any questions or comments from the board? Any questions or comments from the public?
Is the 6854 great, 548 great price, considering vehicles today, is that coming like plow ready, or is that going to be a additional expense, or is that? Yeah, you're gonna need to be upfit, or is it coming ready?
I'd have to look at the quote, a little bit more. I don't have
I assume it's a lot.
It's probably a stock vehicle, but we can look into it. Any other questions or comments from the public?
Actually, it does have the upfitting of the plow on there.
Good.
Wonderful.
And the spreader, so you can get the salt spreader.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you for clarifying.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the public? Call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye. Park and Rec, there's a report submitted for review. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion approving the purchase of a bench to be placed at the community park in $899 of the township's park and recreation fund.
Second. Any questions or comments from the board?
This is the Chaharo people, the recycled plastic people.
Yes,
It's
yes.
a really good price, no matter what kind of bench it was.
Yeah, great.
And it's gonna be red, white, and blue, I think. For the park and rec recommendation. Great.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Questions or comments from the public?
$900 for a bench seems expensive. Is that covering like the whole cost of the bench from getting it, shipping it, installing it, and dedicating it? Because I assume it's gonna get dedicated to somebody.
Does it
Like
have-
that.
I think
We'd
that's.
have to look into that. Usually benches are public works, for if there's installation, we usually install it ourselves.
Would that include, I'm assuming it includes delivery and pick then, or it's local anyways.
It's local.
I just-
They literally live in the township, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's actually a good price. We paid a lot more for two benches.
Yeah, commercial. bench.
Some of our benches last 10+
We're
years.
supporting a local business, Park and Rec was happy, and we recycled 10,000 plastic bags.
Yeah, I wasn't arguing against it. It was just, I was curious as to what those dollars were covered.
No, Phil, I agree with you 100%, I just wanted to clarify.
Any other questions or comments from the public? Yes, Dennis?
What's the bench made out of material?
Plastic bags.
Recycled plastic bags, he is a, state of Delaware, I think is the owner's explaining.
Any other questions or comments from the public? Call for the vote.
Hi,
Aye. Historical Commission, no report submitted, Connie?
We had a meeting and a homeowner was supposed to meet with us about, I can't remember, something on his property and he didn't show, so.
I just want to make sure I get this correct. I didn't feel good.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a meeting and he probably has notes, but,
That's fine. I just wanted to clarify. Environmental Action Committee. Nothing to report, right? Nothing to report. Is there any new business to discuss? Old business, I apologize.
Are we gonna get a report from the planning commission?
I will reach out to Ray again.
There really wasn't anything to report outside of the Rokeby Road.
Yeah, we are looking at updating the comp plan. We just had a meeting with Chester County Planning Commission, but I'll get more information on that for the next meeting.
Any new business to discuss?
Oh, I have a question about whole business. I don't know if you guys have raised it, but I did bring up earlier the permit software. And that's just one example. I think of a lot of things that the township is or isn't doing that would be nice to have kind of a live dashboard for. I guess it's been over a year now that this has been in progress maybe and has not been implemented. And I was just curious where it's at, if that can be counted as old business.
Do we have an update on it?
We're in the testing phases of that right now. Be made public shortly.
Any other questions?
Old business and hopefully it fits. It's about the school, safety really. But one day, I think it's about 2 weeks ago, I was driving by 17s and large semi-tractor trailers carrying one of the pre-made gables for the school. It was an oversized load and the gable point was sticking out into the other lane plates bar. And he didn't have any oversized load spotter for that. So I'm kind of curious, is there anybody monitoring that site to make sure that the community is safe? Because that was like really unsafe. And I really don't know how that guy was able to go down the road like that, because you could decapitate somebody easily with that if the driver didn't see that and was looking at the radio. So I'm really concerned about our public safety when we have trucks and construction going on like that. So I just want people to be aware of that. Thank you.
Chief, is that something we would police as a matter of course if you saw them?
If
Oversized load.
oversized loads should be permitted in for all loads.
So there's laws that you could enforce if they were.
Right.
Should they have escorts with something like that?
Yeah, on the sides and the permit.
Front or rear, both.
Yeah, nice.
I used to know them.
Thank you.
Any new business to discuss? All right, public participation. Al, get in there, please.
I'm sorry, I was talking to myself.
As usual, we ask you to come up to the podium, provide your name, and if you so feel, your address. Try to keep your comments to 3 minutes. Be cordial, please address the board. So with that, anyone have any public participation? Mike was first, Bill.
Mike Petro, 705 Buck Run Road. Deb, I appreciate what you said there. I agree 100%. Just real quick, I had a question that would, for Mike, if I can ask. Right.
Which Mike?
Mike, I quick. That zoning for the B and B, was that, for a condition of sale, or is that property already owned? Is that something you can, is that already owned by the owners who are looking to get a B and B, or?
I can look at the application if I can tell you more.
Yeah, they're residents.
They already live there? Oh, okay. Thank you. That was it.
Thanks, Vinny.
Sorry.
No, don't sorry.
Know who he is.
I'll look it up.
It's really nice.
The old lab.
Rick, before you start, before you start, you saved money earlier. I want to know who gets credit for that this
Oh,
one.
I got that. I got it here. I know, I got you
All
here.
right.
But you're not gonna like it, but I got it.
No, I understand.
First, before I even get to
Real
that,
quick. Excuse me? Thank you.
before I get to that, I just want to say to Deborah, I appreciate your follow-up comment. I also would have agreed with it had it been done properly, and it just wasn't. And I even discussed that with the EAC at their last meeting, that don't consider it a dead issue, just something that needs to be rethought. And again, to Deb, I feel you truly embrace the democratic process by voting with people instead and against your own personal interests. It's refreshing to see somebody be so forthright about it after the fact. So I know I'm not speaking alone when I say thank you. I know it can be hard to do that and separate yourself from people you don't agree with, or even like for that matter. But in your position, 13 inches higher than the rest of us, that matters. And individually, what ordinances have you personally proposed to be created, modified, or eliminated in the last month? Board. Anyone?
I was just referring you to the agenda. They don't know this is.
You keep referring me to the agenda. That's not an answer.
Well,
All right.
that's what they are.
Individually in the last month, supervisors, have you proposed or what ideas have you proposed or implemented as an effort to lower the tax burden on our residents? We got the privilege of having a non-supervisor, Mr. Switcher, right?
Nice.
I do appreciate that. I both that with also with the fuel, there was a significant savings over last year. If I was reading the paperwork correctly. So thank you. But as elected officials, I'm looking at you guys to lower our taxes as well. So anyone? Last month?
Our taxes have been lowered for the last 6-7 years, Joe, and I was part of the search committee to hire Scott, so I feel like every year we have.
But by proxy. So because he's doing, you're doing it? No.
We're all involved in low, when we.
All I'm doing is looking for ideas and you guys don't have them.
I'm trying to answer you.
I'm talking to him.
Yes, we're good.
I was trying to answer his question.
Yeah, well, you need to follow the same rules I do. So sip it.
Dave,
Excuse.
Philip, please just curse me on. Thank you.
Tip for tat.
Please, thank you. Anyone else have public participation? Dennis was actually first. Shane. I go by hands. Respect.
So this is for the record. welcome. Thank you, Ms. Solicitor. Good evening. My name is Dennis Wisniewski. I live at 5-8 Park Avenue. I've provided a packet documenting a 16-foot choke point on the recorded right of way servicing 2 family homes off Park Avenue. I also emailed the board, the solicitor, the manager, police chief, and secretaries. I'm joined by Westwood Fire Chief Mike McWilliams and Medina Fire Chief Frank Dowling. We are here because the 16-foot gap is a direct violation of International Fire Code 503.2.1, which requires a 20-foot minimum. This is not a civil dispute over a property line. It is a tactical obstruction. If a fire starts in the brush or trees, these chiefs will confirm that a 30-ton tanker cannot safely navigate through this pinch point to protect lives and property at the end of that road. At 11 o'clock today, the township manager emailed me stating the township does not have enforcement authority. This is factually and legally incorrect. When this board adopted the International Fire Code, you adopted section 102.5, which explicitly states these safety mandates apply to all premises, including private roads. You claim you have no authority to enforce a life-saving code on a shared access way is an abdication of your primary duty. You're choosing to prioritize a neighbor's junk storage over the fire department's ability to save our lives and our homes. Physics does not care about your civil matter excuse. A truck that needs 20 feet cannot fit in 16 feet. In particular, if that vehicle gets mired at this choke point, making it impassable. To the supervisors, you are now on actual notice. Under Title 42, Section 8542, immunity does not protect you when you ignore a dangerous condition. By following the manager's lead and ignoring the mandatory 20-foot safety standards of the International Fire Code, this board is crossing into willful misconduct under Section 8550. Furthermore, if the board does not act tonight to resolve this violation, I'm prepared to file a writ of mandamus in the Court of Common Pleas to compel the township to perform its non-discretionary duty to enforce the International Fire Code as adopted under Chapter 7 of the East Fallowfield Township Code. The township has explicit power to clear the obstruction under Ordinance Section 15-502, which grants you the authority to remove and impound any vehicle or equipment that interferes with the property and safe movement of traffic or emergency services. I have no desire to waste taxpayer money on litigation. But if I'm forced to sue, I'll be seeking full reimbursement from the township for all court costs and legal fees. I'm asking the board tonight, will you direct code enforcement to clear this 16-foot choke point immediately? Or must we resolve this through a court-ordered mandate and the total acceptance of personal liability by this board? Thank you. Thank you.
So just to respond to from a legal perspective, Mr. Wisniewski, you're wrong, you're not correct. The area you're pointing to is not a public road. It's not a private road. It's not a road. It's an easement area from the public road back to the properties. That's what, if you look at the International Fire Code, it references a road. This is not a road. Even so, you have your own civil mechanisms to go against your neighbor who you believe to be in violation of the fire code. And you can undertake those if you wish. If you wish to file a lawsuit against the township and file a lawsuit against the township, you're not gonna prevail on it. So that's your choice.
Well, we'll see. I'm wondering how the fire chiefs feel about this. That if they get choked off,
I can speak about this if you need me to, like,
Yes,
clarify complaints. So, first off, Dennis, I feel for your situation. Mike McWilliams, I'm the fire marshal, by the way. So, we were notified about this. This was going on prior to our appointment, which was about 2 or 3 weeks ago, that this situation was going on. We got an email that was forwarded to us that had been going on back and forth with the township. We did not come out and do the inspection, because we were trying to find clarification as to what was going on between the township and the resident. So after we investigated this a little bit more, we did email Dennis back. He emailed us back on the 18th with some pictures. We did not go out and inspect it. We were going to defer back to the board to see what action needed to be taken for us. And, unfortunately, I think Mr. Karate answered your question for you, with this, finding out what the international code for the fire code prevails to public roads and not private
I
property.
just researched and I just stated in my speech right there, I can follow up, but you totally missed that. You didn't.
I'm just saying that, when we discuss it based off of what the township, solicitor went over, that's where we're at. It's up to the township and the board to do what they want, but
So
that's where we are at this point.
if the truck gets mired, okay, so if in a 16-foot truck, first of all, how wide is a tanker truck?
Our tanker truck is just standard size, the truck, it's not any,
I measured 112 inches, I went down to the fire company and measured,
Yeah.
okay? You get one car, a passenger car, stuck in that choke point, your fire truck can't get through there. Second of all, there's branches coming out that choke it down even further. How heavy are those trucks?
they're pretty heavy.
Do they sink in mud? Do they sink in snow, especially when it's thawing out?
There you go. So again,
I'm
I'm not disagreeing with you. I understand it's,
Because you
well,
have the authority over the township and the police.
it is, I understand your frustration. I
It's
get that,
more than
but
frustration, it's
as the
life-saving.
fire chief, as the fire marshal cannot go on to private
Have
property.
any of you had fires in your house? Nobody. One person? I did. I actually obstructed a fire truck from getting into my house because I had a boat outside and it was choked. I went over there and I had to carry the fire hose over my boat to get it to my house. Luckily, nobody died. You guys don't understand life-saving hazards if it's right in front of you. I don't understand this. This is ridiculous. This is incompetent. And if it goes to court, I'm gonna go to court and sue the city. I don't want to do it. I'm sorry, taxpayers, but it's just gonna raise their taxes even more.
No, there's plenty of money this year, $272,000.
But this is wrong. This is derelict of duty, okay? I've been going and trying to ask people and do what a model citizen does. The police chief says that he can enforce some ordinances, but not all. I said, give that to me in writing. He wouldn't give me that in writing. I asked, just say it on the recording. He wouldn't do that. I want transparency. I want a government that's transparent and does the right thing. I care about lives more than paper, plastic bags. You guys don't? You guys care about stupid plastic bags and people's lives? How much pollution happens when a fire goes up? This is ridiculous.
Thank you, Mike.
So,
Thank you, Dennis.
Mr. Crotty or Scott. I'm trying to understand the particulars outside of the legal. So my understanding is there's a shared easement, a private driveway, and apparently there's a vehicle that's not yours, Dennis, that is in the way. There's a physical car that's just sitting there for however long.
Down.
And I read some of your notes, I mean, I left the professionals give the detail, but apparently it's not registered, it's not your vehicle. It's a physical obstruction.
Correct.
You made that perfectly clear. So, I'll just do the hypothetical. If it was my house and I saw some guy, my neighbor left the vehicle laying there, what are my personal, if I called my attorney and said, what can I do about this?
what can an individual do about this hypothetically?
So I'm not Dennis's lawyer, obviously.
Yeah, again, hypothetically. But you do enforce ordinances and it's a violation of the ordinance.
Dennis, pardon me. You're incorrect in asserting that the township has the jurisdiction to go on private property to clear something that is not a road, public or private.
It's illegal.
Pardon me, Dennis, I didn't interrupt you. Please don't interrupt me. Mr. Wisniewski has to wants to talk to his lawyer and try to sue the township. Go ahead. His true recourse is against his neighbor if he believes his neighbor is violating either the easement right of way that they have between each other or some other provision that'll give him some kind of legal cause of action, but it's not against the township.
Yes, Dennis.
Why don't you enforce ordinances? I hear this word ordinances getting passed around. You guys are happy to talk about ordinances. You have ordinances 10-104, which
Dennis,
is a
real quick.
nuisance.
If this isn't about this one complaint, you've already run your time. We're done.
It is. It's a failure. Everything meets the criteria to ticket to get this car out of there and just be compliant. You don't have to fine them. Why aren't the ordinances being enforced?
You've submitted your request. We've deferred to the solicitor. I trust the solicitor. That's his legal advice. There's nothing more to be said.
I don't trust them after the interaction. I see a lot of stonewalling happening.
Screwed me over.
They make it so it tires me out.
Never forget. Okay. Any other? Actually, Shane had his question. You have a question?
Well, I was wondering, can you do a complaint where Rob has to go out and inspect and
Rob did
Card
go
not-
out. Rob did go out.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
he did?
fail to enforce the
they
ordinance.
can't make it, he can't
They
make.
trigger, no inspection. That's an abandoned vehicle. Rust
Rob,
holes. That's
Rob-
actually citable offense. He failed to do his duty. Another, I'm gonna go to Chester County, file, complaint against that.
Rob disagreed that there was any violation.
Well, he's
Yeah,
blind
we-
then. You want me to take it out there? Did you see the pictures? You guys have the packets. I circled everything. I couldn't make it easier for people to look at that. You know what? You know what the neighbor said to me? It's on recording. It's in the case file. The neighbor who threatened to hope that I died, he threatened me, said that, go to the township, go to the police. They won't do a damn thing. He's right. He's right. You guys aren't doing a damn thing.
Shane?
Unbelievable.
Shameful, East Collinsville. I mean, it's kind of funny because there was an ordinance that was broken with a banner and I know it was taken down like, okay, so I think it's kind of funny. Picking and choosing which ordinances you wanna go after. And then, saving money. Did we ever look into a cost benefit analysis for bringing trash in-house? Cause I know I mentioned it. And at the next meeting, Blazinski was here giving a song and dance about picking up, bulk trash every week. And not the song and dance people kind of wanted to hear is like, come pick up our recycling every week. So I don't know if that was just a ploy or if we've actually kind of looked into a cost benefit or any savings we would have if we brought trash in house.
We've never looked into.
We never looked into it. Okay. And then let's see, I gotta get through this other stuff quickly. Kevin can't be here, but he said, can we start live streaming and recording all committee meetings? He's brought that up multiple times. There's been nothing on the agenda, nothing discussed about that.
That's a burden on the commissions to get that running right, Scott.
If the commissions want to do it on their own, but the board's going to discuss it probably in March. That'll be one of the topics we'll look at.
But the board can't dictate if they have to do that or not. I guess I
I
can
always
probably,
have it yet.
okay. Let's see here. So how are we doing on the $272,000 legal budget so far this year? Have there been any email right to know requests this year?
We can look into the budget, but I don't have the answer right now.
But have there been any email right to know requests this year? You would know, right?
Yeah.
You're the right to know request, Dr. Lindsay.
I don't have that information in front of me.
You would be the only person that has that information.
Am I here to answer questions or?
Has there been email requests for right to know?
A right to know
For our
request
emails?
a right to know request for
Not
emails.
for our emails, Mike.
Right, okay.
No.
Have there been significant or any right to know requests that have had to go to legal? This year?
Can we still divulge it?
We could.
Have you had any requests to review?
Whatever you want to call, and that's not being cheeky.
No,
but
I mean,
I don't know.
the year hasn't been that long so far, right? I mean, it's
We're 2 months.
nothing significant, right? Nothing like the emails last year. So I just want to record, wink to, not Al, sorry, Wilson, right? I want to put it on the record that there's $272,000 in the budget for legal. It was all total bullshit. And it's not gonna get spent and it'll just go into the capital fund or general fund, whatever it is. So just wanted to point that out. Municipal Building Committee, like, when is this happening?
We didn't meet this Monday, correct?
No, we meet last night.
Are we gonna plan to meet?
Probably in March.
Well, do you have to have the meeting to have the interviews, to add people to the committee?
That's the general process is the commissions or committees meet with the applicants and then provide recommendations to the board.
They meet at the meeting to do this. Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other public participants? Actually, yeah, I'm sorry, I apologize. Connie was,
We need to kind of come up because she's still there.
Connie, if you want to stay.
Sometimes, sometimes not.
The illustration.
Thought about bringing my plastic bag with me. Where do we stand on, a new website? Redoing the website?
In the works, correct? Scott,
We're close to, we're talking about it right now, not in the implementation phase at this point.
Okay. That's,
sir,
Good evening, Barry DeLibero, 1012 Pottstown Pike in Chester Springs. First of all, before I get started, I just want to say the audience participation is fantastic. I love seeing this. I go to a lot of active things. You guys are really active. It's very impressive. So thanks for the evening. I thought this was going to be boring. It's not. The reason I'm here is I have a piece of property, 99 South Brandywine Avenue, the end of East Fallowfield Township that nobody ever sees because it's a dirt driveway at the end of a road in Modena. And I was told by the township manager I called in to talk about my trash service that I pay for every year. I have a 1/4 mile long driveway. And we generate, it's actually my wife's house. She generates about 1 trash bag a week, if that. We never use the service because it actually leaves that property, and when she comes into work at my place, right across the street from Michael, she drops it in our dumpster that we pay $150 a week for. So I just got my latest tax bill, and that reminded me to come in because the manager told me to come in and plead my case in front of the supervisors about that bill. We never use the service, have never used the service. There's been a flat collection for zero performance on my part. Actually my wife's part, because she's the one that lives there. And I'm wondering if there's any way, if there's a relief, do you guys have any relief for anything like that? And I'm only coming here because I don't know of any other way to communicate with you guys about this except for being called.
all right, we have provided exceptions before. Do we have to just email in?
Yeah, Barry, you want to put it in writing?
Sure.
Kind of spell everything out.
Yeah. You know, I'm no stranger to that.
And we'd have to then take it up at the board level.
That's fine.
I have to look at the contract.
That's fine. I appreciate you just considering it because
Yeah,
like I
We usually
said,
look at it in January.
once,
That's when we do the.
Yeah, that was my point. We did do some in the beginning of the year for, 2 or 3 properties
okay,
that we were able to prove it. So I don't know if we can do it for this year. We'll take it under advisement.
well, that's
Provide
fine.
the
I
request.
appreciate it. But once the trash goes in the trunk, it's not coming out at the bottom of the hill. She's driving it in and
Understood.
dumping it in the company dumpster.
I'm sorry, to interrupt.
No,
I
that's
think it's also a yearly request. I think it's the standard practice. Regarding.
Well, that's fine.
So if whatever happens now, like every year you can ask, or every year you have to ask to make sure it's really.
That's fine. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I feel like we had a mid-year one when a gentleman's mother died and he was taking care of her property. I don't think we don't pay Levinsky less if there's one house that we take off the roster, right?
Right.
So it could be taken off the tax bill. It doesn't have to be in January, and it was done partway through the year last year, right, for that gentleman. So I just want to make sure he's got the right facts that
Thank you.
you can do it if you choose.
Yeah, I said
Okay.
email the request and we look into.
Well, he said we do it in
We
January.
typically do it yearly,
Okay.
but I was pointing what Scott's point was, it typically it's granted on a yearly basis in January. Email in your request, we'll review it.
I'll send it tonight.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good evening. John Sly, President of Westwood Fire Company. I don't want to belabor this evening any longer. I just want to provide the board an update. The good news, bad news kind of situation here. Obviously, the situation with the hospital hasn't improved in our area. Our newest ambulance just suffered a critical engine failure last week. Close to 290,000 miles with that vehicle. It's our newest ambulance. It's a 2022. Good news is that our new replacement ambulances, which were ordered in October of 2022, are going to be we're going to take delivery of them within the next 30 days. We hope to have an invoice. The township has budgeted $85,299 in this year's budget towards your portion of the replacement of that vehicle in the capital fund. I want to give that to you, Scott, but I'd hope to have that invoice for this meeting, but we won't. But hopefully in the next couple of weeks, I'll have that and I'll present that to you for consideration. So good news that we have a new vehicle coming. Bad news is that we're going to have to send that vehicle out. From a cost savings measure, since that's a big topic, as always, we do have another vehicle that's being delivered to us next week, which is a remount of our 2015 unit. Is that correct? 15 or 16? 16 unit. We were able to salvage the vehicle itself and just had to pay for a new chassis. So that's going to be a big cost savings to us as well. So we should be taking delivery of those two vehicles here in the next 30 days. So it's a positive thing for us.
That's great. Remind me when you ordered that new ambulance that's coming in 30 days.
October of 2022.
Yes, I was there.
Yeah, if anybody
Oh my
remembers that,
gosh.
how long ago?
Thank you for your perseverance.
It's a very frustrating process for us, and especially for those that live in an area without a hospital. So,
For you.
yeah, it's about 4 years.
So thank you for everything as always.
Yeah, no problem. We just want to give you that up. Thanks.
Any other public participation? Should order 20. Yeah, Chris.
Yeah, Chris, East Valville. Who is the ultimate manager of the road crew to begin with? And why complaints never get answered? Whether they're submitted on your website or, as I made phone calls to not only the road crew, this clown, or Denise had to call me back and get the wrath over a hazardous condition because they did not clear snow properly in front of my property. And also, on that point, it is illegal in a lot of places to throw your snow out on the street from your property. Same as it is grass clippings, which are supposed to be enforced, which it isn't on the neighbor down that way. But the neighbor next door likes to clean everything out with his tractor and dump it on my property as well as in the middle of your road. Who do I call for that? It's pretty sad. I had to call the police department, get Officer Uzick to come out, take pictures and send them to the road crew manager in order to get the issue fixed the following morning.
You call the office and they will address it.
No, didn't happen that way.
I understand that.
Not until multiple calls were made, and poor Denise had to feel my wrath.
Okay.
Thanks to no answers on the right to know or complaint form or any calls to him, even calls to your road crew department, who never even called back to ask about the issue. Why not? Now you got an emergency management guy, is that who's gonna be the answer man now, Biker Billy?
No, everything should go through the manager and we'll trickle down.
Well, you ought to tell him to get off his ass and do his job. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Any other public participation? Motion to adjourn at 8:53 PM.
Second.
Call for the vote.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Dave, we gotta check this out.